All right, welcome to the BFR Podcast presented by Sports Mockery. My name's Dave. Cover the Bears for Sports Mockery. You can check out all my work at sportsmockery.com. Follow me on all socials, Dave_BFR. I'm joined by my co-host, Ficky. Follow him on all socials. It's Ficky Baby. And we have a good show today. We're going to have Kyle Long on to kind of help us preview the Bears versus Vikings, talk about the offensive line currently, his post-life football, as far as just his pod with his brother, the Greenlight Pod, which is amazing. Go ahead and check that out. And of course, he plays Madden, everything he's doing right now outside of football. So it's going to be a fun conversation. We're going to bring him here in a minute. But Ficky, man, how you doing?
Man, I'm good. It's still riding that high from last game. It was so It's just been so long that I'm really soaking in this win because it's been decades. So I'm doing good. How about you though? You just started. You got a new promotion at work. How's that been?
Yeah, it's been crazy. If you look at my timeline on Twitter, on Monday night after the Jordan Love, masterclass, 3 interceptions or something like that. That was my last tweet. It was the one with DJ Moore. I was like, hey, how many interceptions did Jordan Love have? And it was DJ Moore counting on his fingers 3. So that was my last tweet. So I've been super busy, man. But I'm excited just to kind of talk Bears, kind of relax a little bit. We have a big game. We'll get to it. No Justin Jefferson for the Vikings. So there's a lot to talk about. Yeah. And of course, talking with Kyle Long, he's amazing. He's so fun. Just a great dude in general, just outside of football. So can't wait to bring him in here in a moment. But I thought we'd talk about maybe Sunday. We kind of talked about it right after a live reaction pod. How are you feeling? Are you feeling maybe even better in regards to that win on Thursday night against the Commanders?
Yeah. You know what? At the end of the day,
does it come down a little bit?
Yeah, they're beatable. At the end of the day, the Vikings are 1-4. So it's not like this is a top tier team, okay, at the end of the day. But they do have a good quarterback, all right? Kirk Chains is what I like to call him, right? This is not a primetime game, so we don't have to worry. If it was primetime, I might bet Bears just because Fields normally plays better in primetime and Kirk Cousins does the opposite. But since that's not the case, Kirk Cousins is still Kirk Cousins. He's still a top 15, top 10 quarterback. And so if we're looking at the battle of quarterbacks at this stage right now, Kirk Cousins is better than Fields, all right? Fields does have 2 great games. Don't get me wrong. His ceiling is definitely higher. But as of right now, you're going to look at it and go, wow, Kirk Cousins can still win you a game, all right? What you mentioned, though, which is huge, and there's actually 2 things, is that obviously Justin Jefferson got put on IR, I think today, officially, right? So he's obviously out for the next 4 weeks. Also on their injury list, Jordan Addison was eliminated with an ankle injury. So, if he's most likely going to play, because then I'm like, who are you going to throw to? You still have Hawkinson out there, but it's really going to be how well our defense shows up, because right now their defense is not that good. So I could see us scoring a good amount of points. And if our defense plays like how they did against Washington, I think we could come out with a win. But is that game a resemblance of what's to come with our defense, or is that game a fluke? Is that a one-off, right? And then we go back to the allowing 29 points a game, no sacks per game, things like that. So I'm not over here let's throw money on the Bears, which you should never do anyways. But I'm not over here preaching that. But we could win. I'm more of a coin flip right now. How about you?
Yeah, I've looked a little bit into the Vikings. Obviously, Justin Jefferson going down IR for 4 games is huge, not just for the Bears, but for that remaining schedule. They could be in the top 5, as far as the draft order next year. Yeah. They're a sneaky team to be even maybe the first overall, which is crazy to think about. But that's what happens when you win those close games. We talked about last year, they were just winning. They were the opposite of the Bears last year, just winning, closing them out. They were just very, very lucky. And of course they played well, and throwing to Justin Jefferson and alike is it's great for Cousins. However, it's not working out right now, and it's not going to be great for them moving forward, especially if their rookie, what was it? What was his name again?
Addison. You talking about the
Jordan Addison, which is Jordan on my fantasy team. Yeah, it's alarming for him. It is going to be tough because who are they going to if he's out as well?
Oh, yeah, it was Hawkinson. I don't even know who their wide receiver 3 is.
And if we get JJ back, you get Eddie back, Kyler Gordon.
JJ's for sure back, because JJ the media was talking to him today, I think in the locker room, and he said he's kind of disappointed how he's not going to get to line up against JJ, the JJ battle. Yeah. So, you make a comment like that, you're most likely playing. Eddie, I don't know. You would think. I think the mini bye came at a perfect time, and we talked about this on our post game pod. Hopefully he's back. But yeah, I mean, we are in a better position now than we were 3 weeks ago to say we can beat this team, right?
Yeah,
and that's positive. All right, we're not a playoff team, but like if we come out here and play how we did against the Commanders, and at least on offense play like how we did against the Broncos, I think we have a chance to beat them. Because I think I saw a stat today, like they're giving up their passing defense is like one of the worst in the league. So I'm hoping that Fields can just light them up. You know what I mean? And that's also going to come down to the offensive line play, because we talked about it in the post game. The offensive line last game against great competition came to play. You know what I mean? So it'll be great to get Kyle's thoughts on that as well. But I mean, if they can play like that and give Justin Fields time, right, he's going to deliver. We know he can make the passes, make the reads when he has time, right? Because he has that trust, especially with someone like DJ Moore. So I think if the line play continues, which the addition of Tevin has been huge, and not only Tevin but Nate as well, I think we could maybe pull away with the win here. So it should be fun.
Absolutely.
Either way.
Well, hey, it looks like we have Kyle Long here. If you don't know him, Bears legend, we're going to bring him in right now. And we'll table the Bears versus Vikings for a little bit, maybe touch on it with Kyle briefly. But let's go ahead and bring him in. Hey, Kyle, can you hear us, man?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Perfect.
Awesome.
How you doing, man? I know you're busy.
Dude, I'm just getting all these wires under my feet set up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, welcome to the club.
The way of life now.
Right.
Facts.
Yeah, the podcast life. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, like I was mentioning earlier, if you're a Bears fan, you know Kyle Long. If you don't, are you really a Bears fan? I'm not sure. But Kyle, Bears legend, Bear for life. He said it himself. He's on the pod. And so we're excited to have you, man. First of all, tell us what's going on. Obviously, football is kind of like back, so you're probably in full swing. But like, what are you? Obviously, you have the Green Light Pod. You're on, national television. What is it like post football, post Bears, as far as just covering the game?
It's hard at first trying to figure out if you're a square toy trying to fit in a round hole, and then once you kind of spend some more time in it, you realize there is a space for people like you within this community in the media. I have a lot of fun on Twitter. I get to be myself on Sunday on CBS Sports with that other pregame show. And then obviously on Monday mornings with Chris, I get to be myself. It's a lot of fun. We get to get nitty gritty on Monday and talk, the micro of what's going on with a certain team's run game. Or I got to hear Dan Orlovsky talk about the way that they mic in the run game today with San Francisco. And it's stuff like that I get to enjoy on Monday. But, the other stuff is people want to hear a preview. They want to hear what they're going to see on Sunday. Tell me what to look for. You know what I mean? Like, Chris and I know what to look for. We're going to tell you what to look for after that. So there's spots in there where I'm getting more comfortable.
How hard is that, like the prediction aspect? Because I'm always like, I feel like you're like a weatherman, like you're just set up to fail with that. Because I mean, you played the sport for 10 seasons, and you're still like talking about the difficulties of that. So
predictions are hard, and that's a good question. And I'm glad that I only get to do currently I only get to do the preview, so I get to get out of the studio by noon, and kickoff is in an hour. And I've got my YouTube TV up like every other dude in America. But I don't have to report back to the studio as it currently stands, and I don't have to answer for the things that I said before the game. Hopefully by next Sunday, people will have forgot. Maybe I made some people laugh on a Sunday, and they're like, you know what, he gets away with it this week. But you got to do it. You got to do your research, and you can't just – people are relying on the experts, right? And that's why people get made fun of on TV, because they're kind of, in the last week, there's been a lot of players that have gone and said things that have been sensationalized, but, they kind of invite it with the things that they're saying. People rely on experts, and you don't want to be lazy. You want to be kind of prepared, at the very least, and be able to articulate what to look for in the football game.
Absolutely. So as far as like predictions go, the Bears have had kind of a crazy turn of events. It started off rocky week 1, 2, and 3, and now we're here where the Bears are kind of trending upward. Is this what you kind of expected from this, young team with, a franchise quarterback, new weapons? What do you make of this team so far?
You know what? I didn't anticipate the team to be so slow to start and to look so syrupy as an offense and predictable at times. And now as a fan, I'm at that point where I'm like, hold on, let's pump the brakes, offense. Don't break records just yet, because there's so much at stake, obviously, this coming off season. And thank God us three don't have to make the decisions.
Right.
But what we can do is talk about it. And one thing I've been doing is I've been playing, deleting, and replaying the Madden scenario. Players up for franchise tag, players up to be re-signed, and then, oh baby, we're into the draft season. So if you're a Bears fan, it's either like, let's figure this thing out and let's get to 8 wins this year. Let's get to 9 wins. Let's prove to everybody that we can do this on a week in, week out basis, because obviously everybody's sold on Justin's skills, but people have said, is it the right pairing in Chicago? Is this grouping going to be right for one another? And yeah, they've shown us here recently. So, I know that there's a camp that's like, I want you guys to continue to suck so that we can get Caleb Williams. And then there's a large contingency of Bears fans that have been watching Justin Fields from the start that are like, hey, dude, we have something special. And if people don't understand that, great. We've got him in the building, and that's all we can ask for as Bears.
So speaking on that, obviously, I doubt you're in the space of like, let's watch this team that you played for so long just suck. Like we've seen this team suck. We don't want to see us suck more, right? Me and Dave have particularly been on the Justin Fields train. Obviously, there's been some hiccups along the way, but what is your thoughts on Fields? Do you feel like he is the future? And do you feel like that is the best way to go? Or should we be thinking about maybe, I know there's been some talk already. I know on ESPN, Canty was like trading him now when the stock's high, things like that. What's your kind of thoughts overall?
Well, look, there's a wide range of ways to go about this thing. And we're lucky as a franchise to be in a position where you have a potential Pro Bowl caliber, definitely a guy who can win a lot of football games for you in the building, Justin Fields. And he's going to be owed a lot of money here coming up. So the decision is, do you take what you can get for what you have and invest in your future with a young core around a quarterback that you deem to be the generational talent of all generational talents, Caleb Williams? So that's one train of thought. And the other train of thought is keep Justin, draft a tackle, get an edge rusher, and you can't miss the guy from Ohio State. And when you get that in conjunction with what we've just sat here and said, okay, Getsy is the guy. Obviously they do have a good relationship. And when they hugged about 3 weeks ago, it wasn't fake. And
that was
looking back, I may have to delete some tweets. You know what I mean? These guys, I can't swear, these guys went out and did something that I haven't seen in the orange and blue in a long time, the navy and orange rather. So it was fun to watch as an alum.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You're good, Dave.
Ficky, yeah, I was going to touch on, I'm not an O-line expert at all. You, however, happen to be one.
I'm not an expert. So, I know how to block people. There is a difference.
That counts.
That's true. But I want your honest take on one, Darnell Wright, who I think has looked very good. I think others are kind of echoing that. And then, of course, what Tevin Jenkins brought on a snap count almost against the Commanders. Like the offensive line looked nasty. So what do those two guys look like, as far as, can this offensive line, are they just kind of hitting their stride? Or what do you expect from them moving forward if they can stay healthy?
As it stands with the right tackle, I've said this from day one, they got the pick right.
Yep.
You could have gone in a number of ways, and obviously
Carter.
that guy in Philadelphia,
balling.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about Jalen Carter on Sunday on our show, and
awesome.
If you guys don't watch, you should tune in CBS Sports.
We'll watch
at 12 Eastern. It's a lot of fun. I'm on there 4 hours of live television. Come make fun of me, but I like Darnell Wright. I love Darnell Wright. His physicality in the run game is something you can't teach. You can't convince a physically gifted guy to go in there and get nasty at the line of scrimmage, to move bodies, to finish guys. That's just something that you have. And covering and trying to have that last hit. I played with Trey Smith in Kansas City for 1 year. And the impact that a guy like Trey Smith or Darnell Wright or your other guy that you mentioned,
Tevin,
Jenkins.
bro. Talk about mauling.
These guys can change the feel of a game. It goes from an offensive line to, oh my gosh, run that back. Watch what, look at 76 here. Take a look at what 76 does. Or watch Darnell pull and get this little bastard in space. Yeah. Like, there are little tiny crosses all over the field because they're just murdering people out there. And the more guys that you can accumulate on a roster like that, particularly in the offensive line room, the better you're going to be.
Now, Kyle, going off I'm a big advocate of the best teams win in the trenches, right? You look how great the Eagles were last year. They had one of the best offensive lines, defensive lines, right? You win in the trenches and then build out, okay? I think one of the biggest pieces of this team is that we haven't had that type of aggressive mauler attitude since you left, right? You were definitely that. So Tevin Jenkins reminds me of you, perfect. But my question is, do you feel the whole line needs that type of attitude, or can one or two guys carry the load? And then the second part is, how far do we feel like we have that, or are we close, or do we still kind of need to fill that role?
First off, thank you for your compliments. And I'm sorry that there haven't been more iterations of the kind of style that I learned from the old heads to play. And I appreciate you saying that Tevin reminds me of me, because I love the way that Tevin plays the game of football, and I hope for him that he stays healthy, and I think he's got a long and lucrative career ahead of him if he can be smart. And as for the right tackle, you don't, or any of these guys, you don't have to be a psychopath out there, but you need one guy. You need one guy that's kind of like the hall monitor. Because every once in a while you get somebody walking around the hallway he's not supposed to be there. And he may be messing with somebody's classroom he's not supposed to be messing with. You got to get him out of there. You know what I mean? Trey Smith is that in Kansas City, and he's got a junkyard dog next to him in Creed Humphrey. So I'd say 2-3 of those guys on the line is great. If you have 1 to 2, you're going to be all right. But you definitely can't have a bunch of guys who are just technicians and know the playbook inside and out. You need a couple guys who need help with the play, and they don't need help with anything else.
That's fair. No, and to double off on that as well, why Tevin also reminds me of you is, unfortunately, you got the injury bug a little bit later in your career. And then also, you got moved around from tackle to guard, right? And we saw that with Tevin. First question is, how difficult is that transition going back and forth between positions, or is it, easier than what we think? And then also, from a mentality standpoint, what advice, if Tevin reached out to you, how do you deal with, if you get caught with that injury bug? How do you, stay resilient with that?
Well, as it pertains to the switch or switching from guard to tackle to guard, it is difficult. I mean, everything we do in this game is difficult. And I know you don't mean, I know you're not asking, is it easy? But this game is hard enough when you know exactly what you're doing. When I was an all-pro in 2014, my second year, I couldn't miss. You know what I mean? I could not miss. It was like I was playing 2K with my eyes closed, and I just knew the time. It felt like that. Even then, I couldn't sleep the night before the game because it was that hard. No matter how easy it looks for anybody out there, I don't care how easy Trent Williams makes it look. When I was watching the other night, when Micah Parsons goes over and Tarico goes, now we got a football game. And you can see Trent Williams in his stance, no panic, but you can see that he's getting that extra oxygen in there. He's getting ready to go kick a little bit of extra ass. That's even Trent Williams deals with that. You know what I mean? And he's the best. So imagine doing that, and then they say switch positions. It's difficult, man. It's difficult. And when you go inside to outside, there's way more space, and then conversely, sometimes there's way more bodies. You've got a tight end. You may be lined up on the defensive end. You say, I feel really comfortable with the way that he looks in my right eyeball. And then you know what? Your buddy comes over in motion. Fuck, I forgot that we had a motion. And then the end shifts out a little bit. And then you're like, man, he looks about 5 yards further. Those feels don't come to you when you play guard. And when you play tackle, they become very real quickly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's tough. That tackle position seems impossible. I don't know how they do a one-on-one, and then you have people like Micah Parsons you have to face week in and week out. Like,
hey, Micah's got to face Trent, though.
That's true. Yeah, that's a big human being. So
the more guys you can say that about a defender or an offensive lineman, the better.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Absolutely. So I want to switch it over to you played with some great receivers, on the Bears in your career. DJ Moore, you saw what he did against Washington. How is he the real deal? Is he a number one? There's been talk, like obviously this last 2 weeks, there's not much of it, but beforehand it was like, he's not a real number one, or he's maybe bottom tier. What are your thoughts on DJ Moore, and what he brings in as far as like helping Justin kind of take that next step, perhaps?
I'm a big comparison guy. Like, I like to compare guys. You know what I mean? This guy reminds me of, and I've never met DJ and I've never seen him in person. You see a guy and you say, here's a guy with some wide shoulders. I mean, look at the ass on 96. Like, Jesus, you know what I mean? Like, there's some guys that just stand out physically. And, I see the first ball that Justin threw to him, the deep ball, he went 9 route, lean, back out, right? And he caught the guy, and then he was open, right?
Yeah.
That move made it hard for me to compare him to Brandon Marshall, but I want to compare him to Brandon Marshall, where he's like, throw me the football, I'll have my back to the defense, and I'm going to make them pay. He can put his foot in the ground. He can go either way. He's a guy you can target 15 times a game, 20 times a game, and you're confident that the 50-50 ball is really a 70-30 ball, and that it's not going to be a pick. Because that guy DJ Moore is built like a little horse, man. He is strong. He is strong. And I don't know if he stepped out. He may have stepped out.
Yeah, I think he did, unfortunately.
It's very close. They got to let that go.
We're asking the wrong guy.
Yeah, I'm not a little horse. That's the perfect comparison.
He is the right guy. If you want to split the field in half for Justin Fields, put DJ Moore on one side. Get a guy who can line up inside that can cross the field and threaten zone with speed. Get somebody to, like Mooney has been that guy, but I want another one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want to see that guy that's at the horseshoe at Ohio State, potentially. Taking the top off of
Marvin
defense.
something.
And then we can invert that trips formation and let DJ do all kinds of crazy stuff. But as for now, Justin, we're seeing, feels so comfortable throwing him the football. And I'm happy they let them attack down the field early, and it sets up that run. Now, we got injuries in the backfield as it stands, but I think if you block guys up, everybody can really get it up there.
And they still have Foreman, too. I mean, he was quite productive last year. Almost 1,000-yard. Yeah, so we'll see what he can bring. Of course, you have Fields. We'll see. Ficky?
Yeah, no, I actually had a question because you talked about the wide receiver from Ohio State. So if I know we shouldn't be talking draft because it's literally so far away. But since we're here, this is what we do. Absolutely. If Marvin Harrison is there, right, and right now, at least with the Panthers, right, we're probably statistically, I think we have like a 90% chance it's going to be a top 3 pick, right? So if Marvin Harrison is there, do you think we take that, or do we need to build, which I advocate is like build in the trenches instead? Like, is it more important to get Fields that extra weapon when he already has someone like DJ Moore, or is it better to let's solidify the line so he has a lot of time to throw to whomever he wants?
See, I mean, as a Madden player, I'm saying go get the best guy to throw the football to. Particularly if he's a wide receiver 1 through a 5-year case study. You know what I mean? Like, if he's wide receiver 1 this year, then we take him. Or there is a case to be made to go get the best tackle and get an edge rusher and start beating guys up in the trenches, and we can be who we want to be and develop an identity. Or work with me here, we can just score more than these motherfuckers, and we can do that with the best skilled players that money can buy. We see that our defense swells up. Our defense is playing well. We've got young stars on the back end. If we can fill in some of the spots that we deem to be not strong enough up front and let that back end continue to eat, my gosh, Let's make it a track meet, dude. Let's make it a track meet. We dare you to throw the ball. We want the ball. We're going to score. And then we're going to see how you respond to that. And we'll just be getting our oxygen in real quick. And we'll go do it again. There's teams that are built like that, dude. Kansas City is built to score points. And they're built schematically on defense to win football games. And on top of that, they have one world beater up front. You know what I mean? They have one world beater on that D line.
Yeah, Chris Jones. Yeah.
They don't need to spend money on a bunch of guys. Go get one guy who makes you change your game plan, run and pass as a coordinator, who makes the Saturday night meeting 5 minutes longer, and then let your guys on the back end swarm and play Bears football.
Yeah.
We both play Madden too. That seems like my Madden philosophy. Yeah. That's how I play. Let's just put up. If I got to drop 60, you got to drop 60. And also, if we look at it, I mean, sooner or later, they're going to have to pass too much. And then if you can just guess pass all the time, you send your rushers in, you're good to go. It sounds much easier on paper, but I agree with you on that because the history of the Bears has been the complete opposite. And I mean, not to dig on my favorite team, but it hasn't really worked that well going defense first. So I would be a proponent. I agree with you to let's just stack up as many weapons as possible. And then just score 1,000 points if needed, you know?
Yeah, Justin Fields it's like, if we're going to build this thing, we're going to build it around something. Right. You don't just put a house in a field. It's on a foundation. And the foundation that this team, and I'm projecting here to next year, the foundation that this team is being built on is Justin Fields. And you need to do whatever you can to make that as strong a foundation as you can, and with offensive pieces on the edge, and then to your point in the line.
Absolutely, that's great.
Absolutely. Well, Kyle, we appreciate you hopping on. Before you go, I want to talk about Madden. How sweaty are you in Madden? Like I've seen you on Ultimate Team talking about that. Like, are you franchise guy too? Like franchise mode?
Yeah, I'm like 70% franchise mode and 30% ultimate. Ultimate's fun, but it's kind of cheesy. I really do enjoy the franchise mode, and I have two iterations of the future Bears. One of which contains in 2029 I have DJ Moore and Justin Fields, and then the other one I have Caleb Williams. And I regret to inform you that I'm not good enough to bring a Super Bowl trophy back to Alice Hall. But I love it. I'm also in a Madden league that has like 28 real people in it.
Yeah, me too. That's the best.
We have a Discord, and it's my first time doing it. Like, I've got a game after this. I'm the Madden. I run the shit out of the football. People hate me.
No, those Madden leagues, I got introduced to it for the first time last year, and we played like 5 seasons. That is the most addicting thing ever. I love just being the GM sometimes, not even playing.
Do you have any tips for me? Because I'm like, I seem to have inherited a cap scenario.
Ooh, see, my first tip always is when you do the first season of franchise mode. Everyone, did you do a fantasy draft to start?
No.
You did. Regular.
Just picked up a team.
Okay, I normally do fantasy. Gotcha. So I typically do fantasy draft ones where it's like you do a whole draft and you kind of.
I saw that. I saw that on you.
You should
YouTube. Ironically enough, today I was like tips for franchise mode GM, and they were like, first off, do a fantasy draft, and I was like,
that. That's my first. That's my first tip. Get your boys or whoever you play with. Not necessarily boys. I don't know who's in your league, but whoever you play with, do a fantasy draft next time. It is so much better. And then my second tip is the first year people don't have patience, so they overspend like crazy on the first free agency, and you have so much cap that in the second free agency and third free agency, you literally can do whatever you like. And people can't re-sign their players. And then by like year 2 or 3 or 4, you're just snagging like the best players because people couldn't pay them on their team. So
I just hope that my Brock Purdy player can I wish he had one of the badges that was like hidden ability. He's gonna actually get good in the game soon. Because as it stands now, I have to he's like a 95 on short passes. Everything else, you have to kind of just toss it up and cross your fingers. A lot of cross routes.
Build through the draft too, Kyle. I'm sure you're already doing your research. There's plenty of videos. And if you need me to send one, I can as well. But if you can people are lazy in the draft, if you can get good at finding people like second, third round that are like have that hidden ability and whatnot, by year 4 or 5, your team is going to be loaded. While people have a bunch of normal development players. So
well, we got to play sometime. Let's get linked up. Maybe
absolutely.
If you guys have a spare spot in your next season's iteration of user Madden, I'll play.
Oh, absolutely.
I think we can make room for Kyle.
Oh yeah, I was just saying. We can definitely make room.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, hey Kyle, we'll let you go here. One last thing. We like to we typically end it with like who's your favorite Bears player ever. However, you played with these guys, so we want to know who your favorite Bears player to ever kind of be a teammate with, as far as going back to your playing days.
Well,
if you had to choose one,
I would be remiss if I didn't say that if there was, and I know you didn't ask me this, but I'm going to answer it anyway. If there was one guy I wish I got to play with, it was Walter Payton.
Yeah,
you just talk about a guy who was the legend's legend. And he was on the good side of the ball. So that would have been fun. I feel like we would have rolled together and had a lot of fun and played some good ball. And then as far as my favorite guy that I played with, man, I had a lot of fun with Cutler. He taught me a lot about life. Matt Forte was as good a role model as a young man could have in this league, and such a great football player, and taught me so much about my position through the way that he performed at his position, and the way, more importantly, the way he practiced his position. He worked so hard every day, and he wore a cutoff shirt that said workhorse on it. And I don't know if John Q. Public knows that, but he wore it every day under his, practice jersey, and that's what he was in my mind, and that's what he was on Sunday. He was a workhorse. What a beast. Matt Forte. Yeah, he was awesome.
Hell yeah. Coming from a smaller college and then just balling out rookie. I still remember the first game. It was the Colts where he went off.
Did you hear they're expanding? Did you hear Tulane is expanding?
No, I didn't.
No.
Are they joining a top 5?
Yeah, they're going to become 4-lane.
Who they? Is that a joke? Or like,
I think he's joking. He is joking.
Okay, the dad jokes.
Yeah.
Fair enough. It took me a minute.
I was like, how am I not hearing this?
Yeah, no, I was thinking because all these schools are like
that, so you're not alone.
That's on me. That's not on you. That was a great joke.
You can't cut that.
That's fair. No,
this is live.
Everything.
This is live.
We're live.
This is live.
Everything gets
you know what? Live is the best.
Yes.
Live is the best because it promotes being your friggin' self.
Oh,
absolutely. We literally talked about
it's more authentic.
There it is.
Yeah.
There it is.
Exactly.
So, thank you for joining our live, Kyle, and staying a little bit longer.
Let's get our Madden game on soon. Thanks for talking, boys, and go Bears.
Absolutely.
Go Bears. Thank you, Kyle.
Thanks, Kyle. Appreciate it. Man, what a great fucking guest, bro. If you know Kyle or you followed Kyle, you know what I mean? Like even during his playing days, like the man just seems like a guy who just is huge and loves football. You know what I mean? Just like your regular, and this isn't like a diss, but like your regular schmegular guy that you can just go get a beer with and, chill, right? And that's literally what it is. Like the man's talking about
that's why
Madden, you know what I mean? So
his podcast with his brother, which we touched on briefly, but if you're watching this, go check it out. It's first of all, just the conversation. They have amazing guests. That's obvious, but just the conversation from a football aspect. I love it. Also, Kyle, like I remember him training camp, like Olivet Nazarene days. Like he was one of my favorite players. So to be able to talk with him, just amazing. And he's so humble, but he's also so smart. When he comes to the game, you check out, on CBS, everything like that. He knows. Obviously, he played the game, so it's there. But he's amazing.
He's amazing. He's also good as fuck too. Like the man came out.
He said all pro
right from the 3 times in a row. Like starting off his career. That man, if it wasn't for the the injury bug, right? That man was on for a Hall of Fame career. So like, absolutely. I'm so happy that he joined on. Little excited, fanboy, and me kind of still hyped on that. But yeah, that was fucking fantastic.
He's a great follow. Obviously, you know where he's at. You can follow him on Twitter, Instagram, Kyle Long, but with a one instead of an L. But again, thank you to him for hopping on, talking Bears, kind of giving his thoughts. He was so funny when he talked about let's just score more than these these guys. Let's change it up for the Bears have always been defense first, so I kind of agree with him there. But before we move on to kind of Bears versus Vikings, kind of talk about the game, preview it, If you enjoyed today's, episode with Kyle, go ahead and hit the like button, sub to the YouTube channel. We appreciate it. Just another way to support the podcast. And again, Kyle, thank you for hopping on, man. And go ahead and check out his stuff. He's amazing. So, Ficky, before we move on to Bears versus Vikings, anything else you want to touch on, man, regarding Kyle?
No, I mean, I saw there's a comment here that says suit back up for us. Like, yeah, absolutely. We could make
in a
space,
heartbeat.
but no, yeah, no, but it's just great. I love hearing because I love hearing like his perspective of like the players he played with. Like, we look at Jay Cutler, right? A lot of people wouldn't expect him to be like that mentor role, but like he said, he learned a lot from him about life. So like getting those little tidbits,
exactly.
and, you have your perspective of certain things, but actually hearing like from the source about these certain players and their relationships is cool.
And how like the media kind of portrayed Cutler. You see like behind the curtain when it comes to the locker room, how close these guys are. They're with each other almost more than their family sometimes. So it's like to peel back the curtain, let us know, hey, Cutler was, vital for him and his career and his development just as a human and an NFL player. Absolutely. And then Forte, we all kind of knew. We all know he's a great, as far as work ethic and everything, but just reconfirms it. But for me, I'm excited for Kyle. First of all, he's great post-football as far as just being on the broadcast, CBS. First of all, great podcaster. Like I don't know. It's crazy that he was an all-pro football player, transitions to the media side, and him and his brother are like one of the best podcasts in the business.
Details, bro.
He
mentioned it. It's about the details, and that's something that's carried over from the NFL. Is like he talked about the preparation, the training. So he talked about like it was hard, and then if you carry those same kind of skills with any new skill you're trying to learn, right? So I'm not surprised that the man who balled out in college, balled out in the NFL, is now balling outside of his post NFL career. So that's just that long blood, bro. It's whatever they be drinking in that and Howie's family. Like I need some of that. So they got it right.
Absolutely. Anyways, shout out to Kyle Long. Amazing person, great human being, obviously amazing football player too. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button, sub. Like I said, we're going to have some more guests lined up. Not sure we can top Kyle, but we'll keep it chugging here. And thank you once again to him hopping on. But Bears versus Vikings. This is a fun one. We kind of touched on it early in the show. I want to kind of go a little bit deeper. We have obviously Justin Jefferson is not going to be there. That's probably one of the biggest ones, but I wanted to touch on the Bears and kind of what they're looking like as far as the injury report goes. So you kind of brought up Kyler Gordon. He was limited today. So, which is kind of trending in a good direction. It's only Wednesday. We have until Sunday, but it's trending. We'll probably know more with all of these guys, obviously come Friday, but some of these are kind of,
the list is long.
Bad.
Yeah, the list is long,
very
which is
long.
always
so let's get through
concerning.
it. We got Khalil Herbert, ankle, did not practice. Probably not playing. We all know that. Travis Homer, hamstring, did not practice. He's probably out. Hamstring's nothing to joke around with. Look at Justin Jefferson, obviously, who's out with a hamstring injury. Yeah. Eddie Jackson, this is where it's trending up for me, in my opinion. Kind of want to hear your thoughts. His foot, he wanted to play last week, and he even talked on the radio, I think ESPN 1000, where he said he was going to suit up. Something probably changed where like, hey, let's give you another week. It's a short week, Thursday. He's limited, and it's Wednesday. I agree. I agree. And that's a huge, him and Brisker, if Brisker can stay healthy, Kyle talked on it, but keep him healthy. Those duo, I think they're going to be, it's going to be good. It's going to bring a lot of veteran leadership to that back end, that secondary that's supposed to be the strong suit, which I believe everyone's starting to get healthy on a very good 5-game stretch here. That's important for the Bears.
Yeah. It's a good question though with that. So I think JJ's playing. I mentioned that.
Yep.
Brisker's playing, obviously. I think Gordon's going to play, and I think Eddie's going to play. The question is, who's playing CB2? And this is actually a good problem. Tyreek had a decent, like as a rookie, right? He had, a couple plays here and there, but DB's is such a hard position. You're going to get beat, right?
Oh yeah.
But so he had a pretty decent game. Terrell Smith also had a very decent game. So it's going to be interesting to see who they go with for CB2. But what a great problem to have. And maybe I'm taking it because I do this. Sometimes I take it to a whole different topic, but the rookies balled the fuck out last game. Okay?
Shout out to Ryan Poles.
Absolutely.
He's smiling big right now.
Yeah, so that's also great to see because I said this in the very beginning, and I'm not taking claim like, oh, wow, look how big brain I am. No. I'm just saying rookies, it takes a minute. Like this is such a hard, like Kyle said, such a hard and difficult game. So like it's going to take, we always use Kyle Gornick as an example. We love Kyler now. Kyler was not that good like the first 6 weeks. Not necessarily, I'm not saying not good, but like there was a learning curve, right? So it took some time. So I'm happy to see that like Javon Dexter, when he's at the 3 tech now, instead of being at the 1, like the dude's balling out, right? Pickens is playing better at the 1 tech. I think that's the order. Or I might have a reverse, sorry. But they're playing the opposite. So we saw that Terrell Smith, Tyreek Stevenson playing well as well. And then obviously Darnell Wright. So if we get everyone back, all right, I'm not saying this is an easy win, but we get the veterans back right on the back end. We get some of the, these injuries, like the ones who are out, right? And they're now, listed as limited, which we all think are playing. We might have ourselves set up for, I think we could pull this one off. Honestly.
The thing is, I think I'm glad you mentioned it. We'll finish up with the injury report here, but I would be disappointed if we lost. And that says something. Just how this team has been playing. First of all, Justin Jefferson, huge as far as just him not being here. Because, I mean, you are able to press. Then you have Jordan Addison, who is limited with an ankle injury. If he doesn't play, I mean, you could really – and the Bears secondary is getting healthier. Say they get 2 or 3 more guys back this week. That could be almost a mismatch. And anyway,
it's already a mismatch when you don't have one of the on pace to be the best wide receiver to ever touch the grass, right?
So I want to go through I want to finish.
Let
me transfer to the Vikings injury report since we're talking about Addison and JJ. So Jordan Addison ankle limited, Lewis Sign hamstring, he was full, Marcus Davenport elbow limited, Caleb Evans knee limited. And so they are kind of healthy.
Lewis Seen, what was his?
He's full.
He's a dog.
He's
full. Okay.
Yeah, it was his hamstring. He's going to be back barring a setback there. However, the Bears, they got about like 12 guys on here. But I'm pretty sure that it's going to be a lot of them are going to play. So Eddie Jackson's where we left off with the foot. He's limited. He's trending in the right direction. He should play. Cole Kmet, hamstring limited. I don't know. I think he's going to be fine. He was just on, I think, the CHGO podcast.
Yeah, I think he's playing.
I mean, that would be shocking. However, that would be a big miss if he were to miss because, I mean, he is just
top 6 tight end. Well, top 6 tight end right now, in my opinion.
Absolutely, and only getting better. And if Justin continues to rise, I think DJ Moore, Cole Kmet, hopefully Mooney, they are too. So Doug Kramer, thumb, he was full. Kind of get him back. He's designated to return from IR, currently in that 21-day practice window. So to get a little bit more depth on the O-line, they're getting healthier. Tevin Jenkson's not on this list, which is awesome. So that snap count's probably gone.
Yep.
Then we have, knock on wood there. Jalen Johnson, hamstring limited. He is playing. As you touched on, I think earlier, Ficky, you talked about he was in a presser. Disappointed he doesn't get to match up against Justin Jefferson, which I think he played him pretty well for a whole entire half last year in one of the games. I think the final one. And that's a fun matchup. However, that's good for us because, I'm
glad we don't have to worry about it.
He's locked down, man. He's locked down.
Sorry, JJ. I'm glad we don't have the JJ versus JJ matchup. I'm not going to lie. So
Lucas, moving on. Lucas Patrick, concussion, did not practice. Roshan Johnson, concussion as well. Those two are going to be out. And then Terrell Smith, ankle that you touched on, balled out Sunday. He was limited. Hopefully he can be healthy as well. I'd love to see him get back to back, which, he started camp great, but then went down with an injury. So hopefully he's trending in the right direction there. And then ESB, St. Brown, Equinemius St. Brown, hamstring. He did not practice, which is disappointing. Claypool's gone. So it's like Tyler Scott, Velus Jones Jr., going to get some more playing time. So it's a long injury report. However, a lot of guys are trending in the right direction and should be able to suit up on Sunday. So
and I think half of it's like concussions, which isn't good. You know what I mean? Like I'm not pro concussions, but at least it's like once you're cleared, you're cleared. There's not a lingering. Well, maybe decades down the road, but it's not a lingering issue.
We've seen it where they can get cleared possibly in the same week. I think it's happened before.
Yeah,
right?
no, it's definitely happened. I don't know if it should.
It should, especially with Johnson. If I remember that, that hit that he took, he kind of created that one too. Yeah. It was like a mixture. It was he's an angry
it was a big
runner.
Collision either way. Yeah, it was like kind of like two pinball balls hitting each other. Yeah, but
so and then Lucas Patrick, which it's concussion. I get it, but however, he's kind of been a disappointment, which I don't know if we want to talk about as far as
here's my thing
now.
But here's my thing though. All right. So you want the best 5 out there. Okay. So obviously left tackle Braxton Jones or Borum, right? Larry Borum, right? Either one of those, right? Obviously Jones when he's healthy, but Borum is serviceable. Left guard, Jenkins, no question. Go to right guard, Nate Davis, balling out now he's back. Great to see. And then Darnell Wright doing great as a rookie, right? So no complaints there. The center though, because of that, Cody Whitehair moves to center, right? Because he's normally the left guard. But the issue with Cody Whitehair is his snaps. And we talked about post-game. They're all over the place. So the question is the best 5 Cody Whitehair there, who might be the better, lineman as a whole, but maybe not the best center? Or is the best center option Lucas Patrick, right? So maybe this loss of Lucas Patrick, even though he may not be living up to expectations, at the end, again, he's a backup center, right? Who can play, starting. Is it best to have him as center? And I don't know this answer. Or is it best to have Cody Whitehair at center? So that's going to be interesting. So we talked about the offensive line. We need everyone to be healthy, which is impossible. That it's an offensive line. Like these are big dogs getting fucked up every play. So,
for me, it's the answer there is you should have drafted one. You should have.
Yeah. But you can't.
I love Whitehair. Keep going. I like Patrick. It's just they're not the long-term answer. I think we're going to get through this season. But I saw a meme. I think I even touched on it after the post-game pod. It was like, man, like Justin was like Odell back there, pulling it back, trying to catch these snaps. And I'm like, he does not need to have to worry about that. It should not be happening. So hopefully they kind of link up and it gets better because, they have stability at the offensive line and they're starting to get healthy like Kyle talked about, you mentioned. And it could be this 5-game stretch here, Ficky. And it starts with the Vikings.
Oh, man.
Before their bye. It's similar to last year where they went on the Patriots. Now they ended up 1-4, right? Something like that. They didn't win.
Yeah, the rest of the offense. The offense was winning. Yeah, the team.
Yes, as far as growth goes, this is where Justin, yes, they're getting some momentum, but now you got to capitalize on it. And you can't control injuries, but you better take care of business now because you win this one, you go to the Raiders, I believe, who are struggling a little bit themselves. You can kind of snowball here, and that effect, it could be huge, especially for Justin's confidence. DJ Moore is DJ Moore. That he knows he can ball, he knows he can play. Yeah. Just get the ball in his hands. DJ Moore, maybe we get we'll get to our bold predictions here shortly. However, it'd be awesome to see him come alive. He didn't have a catch last week, but great teammate. We touched on it. Him tweeting right after, DJ Moore. He's just awesome there. So I want to move forward to
wait a second before we move forward. Because we haven't mentioned this yet. If you enjoy the podcast and you love us, which you do, no, I'm just kidding. But if you enjoy the podcast and you love the content we put out, or if you love Kyle Long like I do, give us a thumbs up. Go ahead and subscribe. It's free. Also, we are sponsored by Sports Mockery, so we want to thank them for that. And Dave over here is a writing machine posting. Wait, I couldn't imagine how many articles you post. I know like 10 words, so that doesn't help, but posting amazing articles on about this team. You can find them on sportsmockery.com. And again, if you enjoy the show, just give it a thumbs up, subscribe, put on that post notifications, things like that. So we really appreciate it. We really appreciate
Absolutely. It's crazy how much that it helps the pod, helps grow the pod. If you're enjoying it, stick around. First of all, we just appreciate, tuning in. If you want to go the extra mile, we appreciate it. However, let's move forward to kind of the predictions, bold predictions, odds, everything. So with the Vikings right now are 2.5 point favorites versus the Bears. It is at home, which is, I think will be good for Chicago, good for the Bears. It kind of have, I'm kind of nervous just because you look at week one.
You're nervous, bro. The last time I went, every time we go to games, they suck, right? So I didn't mention this, but I am going to this week's game. Taking my mom to her first Bears game. So it's like a moment. It's going to be a piece of memory that I hold on for a while. So Yeah, I'm freaking out a little bit. So it's not like the Packers game or the KC game you went to, or the Taylor Swift game, we should call it at this point.
That one scarred me. And I even mentioned after the pod, after I said, I'm never buying another ticket to a Bears game until they make the playoffs. And now they kind of reeled me back in. You're already going, but I'm
this team, bro.
String a couple together. I might be at a couple games late in the year. However, 2.5 point favorites are the Vikings versus the Bears at home or visiting Chicago. The over and under is at 44 points. I want to start there. What do you think that? You taking the over, under? No Justin Jefferson.
So no Justin Jefferson, but I'm looking at this defense and the I know they have Darnell. I mean, they have Hunter on the line. So the D line's got some pieces, but their back four is not that impressive. I think I mentioned earlier on the pod, like they're bottom 5 for passing yards allowed, like yards given up by tight ends. They're giving up a good amount. And obviously if Cole's playing like he's been playing well. So I could see us putting up, like, it's not out of the realm to see us put up 30 ourselves. Right. So if we're putting up 30, do I expect, a team that's led by Kirk Cousins who knows how to put up points, right? They still put up points. They just lose. I can easily see us going over 44. So I'm going to take the over.
Okay. I'm actually feeling the opposite. I'm going under. I think the Bears offense might come down a little bit, just come back to earth. I think the Vikings may have, might just give them some trouble. I think it's just, they're going to come back to earth a little bit and maybe not score. They might move the ball. However, they might not score, as far as like capitalizing. So maybe a few field goals. However, my biggest implication for taking the under here is just Justin Jefferson and maybe Jordan Addison. I believe Justin Jefferson makes that Vikings offense. I know you like Kirk, 2 Chains. For me,
no, it's definitely JJ is the best player to touch the grass. So that's not a hot take. Yeah, that man. I
think Kirk Cousins. First of all, you look at that Washington game where Flus, he said it at halftime against the Commanders, where they said, "Hey, boys, we're going to continue to dial up pressure. Get home. We're going to whatever happens." So I think that you have to with this defensive line that is, maybe trending up too. But still bottom 10 in the league, probably.
Yeah.
So it's
not hard when you're last, but
you get Kyler Gordon at the nickel, you blitz him. You got a healthy Eddie Jackson, he can move. So I feel like they're going to have even more weapons to play with. Some of these starters coming back into the rotation, and they're going to be able to send even more as far as just dialing up some, exotic pressures. So I think Kirk Cousins is going to struggle. And we'll get to our predictions, our final, score predictions here in a moment. But I believe that's why it's going to be under, because I think they're going to struggle to at least capitalize and get in the end zone. So maybe finish with a few drives with like field goals and such. But we'll get to that here in a moment. I want to go ahead and do some more, over and unders. DJ Moore. We did this last week where I put him at 130. Over under. And I was like, I think he could. I was maybe.
That was your bold prediction. And
that he was going to get over it. So I want to know how you're feeling. I set him over it again at 135.
Under. And I say that in the same way that you talked about, reverting back to the mean in essence, right? Like you're not, and if you do, you're on a historic pace. So if that happens, I'm not mad about it, but you're not, that's what, a game of like 150, a game of 230. Like I feel like they're going to do a little more soft coverage watching him on the, kind of like a double right over there to kind of like keep an extra defender on him in essence. I just don't see that many opportunities that they're going to allow compared to this kind of pace that he's been on. Doesn't mean it can't happen. No, but from a statistical standpoint, I'm probably going to go under.
Okay. Yeah. It's interesting. So the Vikings here, I'm trying to find them. So they are actually, as far as overall defense, according to PFF, they're middle of the pack. They're dead average, 16th in the league as far as overall defense. So they are not bad whatsoever. You look at the Bears, they're 31st still. Even after last week, against Washington, they're 31st. So the Vikings are going to still be a challenge. Washington was 19th. Well, they were around 16th, 15th area. Right now, they're 19th. Dropped. Yeah. So they dropped to 19th. So we're looking at a very similar defense for Fields where they can kind of exploit some things in the back end with DJ Moore, hopefully Darnell Mooney, maybe even get Tyler Scott involved. But DJ Moore, I'm going over. He's fifth in the NFL in receiving yards, 531, even with that slow start, 2 targets against the Packers.
Crazy.
Honestly ridiculous. So the reason why I'm going over is I think they got it here. Okay, DJ Moore, very good. Here's 12 targets. I don't care if it's in double coverage, 3 or 4 times. We're going to give you a shot. Kyle Long kind of said it perfectly. 50-50 balls are more like 70-30. And if you have a guy like that, which, I mean, Minnesota, they are very familiar with Justin Jefferson. It's maybe even 80-20 when it comes to him, maybe 85-15. However, I believe he's going to get over 135. I think he's going to have another big game. And I think he's going to be another reason why the Bears are going to kind of continue this hot streak offensively. So that's me. I just can't. I mean, he dropped 230. And there was
crazy, bro.
Missed. There was
8 catches.
There was
some passes
by Fields, and it's like he could have easily maybe flirted with 300. And so I'm like,
that's crazy.
Okay, you take into account all that. I think he can get one over 135 again. I'm not going to predict 200. I'm not going to get crazy here. I got to see him do that again. But it's going to be fun. I haven't been this excited about a Bears offense probably since that 4-game stretch last year.
Yeah, I guess last year, but that was more like running. I haven't been this excited about a passing offense since Kyle Long.
That's true. It was
Brandon Marshall.
Fields was doing it with his legs.
Yeah,
which we're due for one of those. Which we're gonna get. That's my next over and under here. Fields rushing. Okay, I'm going 1.5 touchdowns rushing.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna go under.
Okay. So you think he gets?
He might.
What do you think he gets?
I think he can get one. I think it's going to depend, right? If it's 5 yards or under, that man can get a touchdown by himself. We've seen it so many times. Like, very efficient in the red zone. If we get in the red zone, like I'm saying, like within 5 to 10 yards, we do that twice, then he would get over it. Because I just feel like there's going to be design runs or the play's going to break down. The man's going to run in the end zone. He's done it a million times, right? Some highlights. So, but if it's more like last game where it wasn't like, I mean, we are taking deep shots, right? We are doing a lot of like deep shot. Obviously, just said deep shots, but like big plays, right? 20 plus yards. So a lot of times, a lot of these touchdowns, we're not in the red zone, right? So if it's more of that type of game, which I would not be mad about because that's exciting as hell, then I don't see there may not be as many opportunities for Fields to get those 2 rushing touchdowns, right? Even if it's more of that deep shot game, could he get one where he runs for 30 or something? Of course, right? But like doing that twice, I just don't. He's a different type of player than last year. Can he do it? Yes, but will he? I'm gonna say no.
Okay. All right.
What about you?
Yeah, I mean, man, I think I'm just gonna stick with you there. To be honest, I want to see Fields kind of have one of those electric runs. I think I've been saying it. I feel like for the last few episodes, few pods here, I'm like, I feel like we're due, man. And the way the defenses are kind of playing him, they are just not allowing him to kind of
not at all. Would you?
And however, Fields has, if he can make a guy miss, we know what he can do in that open field. It's just like, are they going to kind of, are we going to catch the Vikings sleeping here? And it's probably going to happen. It's going to have to happen, not on designed, but more on like, okay, it's breaking down. The thing with Fields right now as well is like when the play is breaking down, he is moving, he is running. However, he is keeping his eyes down the field. He is making plays with his arm, and he's not looking to really run. You kind of see it. It's almost similar to his Ohio State days where he had those runs, but they are far and few between. Yeah. Than at least, the volume that it came at last year. And so I want to see one. Yeah. There's nothing better. Like last year was so much fun because of like 60 yards to the house. Our quarterback is doing this shit. It's like, I want to see it a little bit more than we.
I agree with you.
We're doing.
I agree with you, but are we selfish in that though? Like I totally agree with you.
Absolutely.
But it's like, do we need to see, like, if he just keeps putting up 300 yards passing, it's like, do we really need to see it?
And he's third in the NFL right now in rushing among quarterbacks. I think he's at 190. I tweeted out a couple days ago. Yeah, he has 191 rushing yards, third in the NFL among QBs, which is crazy.
See, I'm fine with that.
So I'm going to go under as well as far as rushing touchdowns. I just don't know. Those are hard. Touchdowns are always hard to predict. However, I'm just going to go
hard
under.
To get. Right. Before we move on to the next one.
Yeah.
Before we move on to the next one, we do have a super chat in here from our boy Tito. So thank you, Tito. Oh, Tito, the man. He had $5 here. He said, O-line plays like they did last year. O-line plays like they did last week, and Fields throws for 3,000 yards, 28 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, 600 rushing yards. Do you keep Fields and draft Marvin Harrison Jr. or Jared Verse, defensive end, or do you say F it and go pay Chris Jones? So in essence, he's asking. Well, I think he kind of gave his prediction, which that's a great stat line: 3,000, 28 to 13.
Oh, okay. He's predicted. Yeah. So he's saying if that stat line ends up being true, you go get you draft Marvin Harrison, and then you pay Chris Jones. I absolutely. I mean, first of all, thank you, Tito. $5.
Of
You're
course,
amazing,
appreciate
man. Appreciate you tuning in. For me,
that
stat line, absolutely. I don't know if you give him. I don't know if you
my only thing is I'm good with the Marvin Harrison Jr., right? Like we can go get him. I think I've kind of switched my philosophy now. Even with Kyle, it's kind of flipped me a little bit. But we do have 2 picks, so it's not like we're not agreeing to also get like someone on the D line, which we desperately need. So yeah, I'm cool with getting Marvin Harrison Jr. and getting Jared Verse. My only thing I'm a little bit hesitant on is I don't know if this team is exactly ready to pay Chris Jones, who again, a fucking beast, bro. But he's over 30, and we're gonna have to pay him over 30 mil. So that's my only concern. I'm not mad if we make the move, but I'm like, does that a lot? Like, are we close enough to where that's the move that pushes us over the edge?
Yeah, Chris Jones is 29. He will be at least 30. And by the time next season. So he doesn't really – it's interesting because it's like timelines. Do they line up with Fields? Do they line up with this team and where they want to be next year? And it's like maybe it's possible. They could be flirting depending how this season kind of ends up going with potentially being a NFC, maybe a contender next year or at least serious playoff team. However, it's like Poles said it, build through the draft, right? I think he's going to stick to that. And no better place than to find a young guy, rookie contract, similar to like, I love Chris Jones, but go get like an Aiden Hutchinson type where it's like that guy. Wow. And you have him locked up for a rookie deal. And then on top of that, you just have the youthfulness that comes with it. Chris Jones, he's getting up there. First of all, he's 4.5 sacks on the year. He didn't even play 2 games, 1 game. He's got 4.5 sacks, more than the Bears, maybe. No, the Bears actually have, I think we're at like 6.5 or something like that.
Yeah,
7?
I think we're 7. Yeah.
Wow, we're flying high here. But anyways, it's like I think it just makes more sense to go through the draft. I saw a Chase Young comment.
Yeah, that's actually who's going to show. Bryson.
My God.
Chase Young or
free agent next year.
Yeah, no, but you remember I talked about this earlier. They're not going to be able to pay Chase Young and Montez. Like I don't see him keeping both. Montez is also like he had a sack and a half on us. Like that's also a great player. So if we don't get Chase, Montez would be a great signing for this team. I'd rather go that route with one of those two than necessarily have to go Chris Jones. And yes, Chris Jones, best defensive tackle in the league right now, no question, but kind of not aligning with the timeline that we have set. So,
but hey, Ryan Poles, if he ends up grabbing Chris Jones next year, next summer, whatever it might be, absolutely, I'm on board. I mean,
I'm not mad. No, hell no.
As long as he can stay healthy, absolutely. I do feel like he would go a different route. I think the Bears are number 1 in cap space right now. They kind of control the offseason once again. I was looking ahead to 2024. I shouldn't be, but I was. And they have number 1 in cap space. Right now they hold, which is going to change, 1 and 2 in the, as far as the draft goes. Hopefully our pick is more 12, 15 area, maybe farther back. That means Fields is the guy, and he proved it. However, Carolina, I have full confidence they might just end up with the number 1 pick. Like, I love Bryce. I like Bryce Young. I was never sold on him. And with the weapons they have around him, it's almost eerie to 2022 Justin Fields. But Bryce Young doesn't have the physical abilities, kind of like do what Fields did, which was survive, and then make plays with his legs. And what you think Bryce Young might have been just a little bit farther along as far as a processor, but I'm not even seeing that, to be honest.
Yeah, it's actually funny because I was playing my favorite game to play, Apex, and I was playing with this guy from Canada, and he was a Carolina Panthers fan. So I was like, okay, give me your assessment on Bryce Young. And he's honestly said like he's been a disappointment. He's not reading the field as well. He did say like his size hasn't been an issue, which is funny because that was like the main talk of the town, right? So I guess that's a good, but I was like, do you feel, I mean, we have your first pick, obviously. So do you feel like you guys can kind of win some games? And he's like, no, I wouldn't be surprised if this pick is not 1 or 2. So it doesn't mean it doesn't mean Bryce Young sucks. I feel like we can't give up on these players so early. It's like starting anything. You have to learn. This is such a tough league. So I'm not here to like diss on Bryce, but it is good that we made the trade with the team like the Panthers, who didn't have, the roster built around them to like help out a young quarterback. So I think that pick's gonna be top 5 for sure.
Absolutely.
No question.
And that's shout out to Ryan Poles. I mean, they had to envision, that Carolina, perhaps I just seen that Max Crosby. Yeah.
I wouldn't be mad about that.
He looked awesome on the Raiders. That's like the only guy they pretty much had. Like his energy is insane.
He's crazy.
I absolutely would love a Max type, either Max Crosby or someone like him on the Bears next year.
We need somebody, obviously.
Take that defensive line, that defensive unit to maybe another level.
Absolutely.
We are usually accustomed to. So let's get to bold predictions and then our final predictions for the game. Ficky, I'm going to start with you, man. What's your first bold prediction for the Bears at home, Minnesota Vikings?
Okay, so both of the first two are offense. No, it's not too crazy. I mean, we've been on a hot streak, though. I mean, to be fair,
we are, man.
We have been on a hot streak with our takes. So, I might go crazy because I wanted to see it.
But it kind of levels out from like week 1, our bold predictions there.
It didn't hit on anything.
Yeah, so it's like even now. So let's see. Let's break even here. Let's maybe get ahead with some of these predictions and then we'll start maybe feeling.
First one, and this goes back to the DJ Moore conversation, why I don't think he's getting over 130. I think there's going to be kind of a focus on DJ Moore from the defensive standpoint that our boy Mooney goes over 100 yards. I think this is his, I don't want to say breakout game because we've seen Mooney ball out, but like this season, there hasn't been the connection as well, right? And I think you're going to see that come to fruition in this game.
Okay.
So he's going to get
I like that one. I love Moon. I would love for him to kind of have a fun, lively game. There was a couple misses from Fields on, against Washington that, Fields even admitted that he has to hit. And I think the game is completely different. Mooney just happened to be on the end of, some of those, just barely out of reach. He also had a play early on. I think they took that deep shot where he didn't continue to run. He kind of twisted his body, tried to make an acrobatic, catch where he could have just kept running. And I think Fields even mouthed it. It was like, keep running there. Against Washington. So I would love to see that happen. But for me, I'm going to the rushing side of the ball. I know we're down a couple of guys here. Herbert, going to miss him, Roshan Johnson. However, I predict the Bears to go over 100. I'm going to say 120 plus rushing yards against the Vikings, whether it be Fields. I really am high on Foreman. I think he's going to be able to kind of plug and play. He was so productive last year. He's sneaky. If you're on, as far as fantasy goes, if you want to bring up anybody, maybe he's sleeping. I'm not a huge fantasy guy, but I think he could be a huge boost, especially if you're kind of needing a running back like most teams usually are. And then Darrington Evans, we, signed him.
Welcome back.
I think welcome back. I think he could be fun. I don't know if
Dolphins practice squad. He will.
Miami.
He has to be.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
we don't have unless Roshan.
Shout out to him, but.
Yeah, unless Roshan comes off, like we need running backs.
Yeah. So I think, but either way, I believe the offensive line being healthy and where they at, the state of it, I believe they can really still kind of punish people and run the ball. It's just part of this offense. So I don't, Foreman is, if he wasn't back there, I wouldn't be as confident, but with Foreman and then Fields, his legs, he got 53 last week. So I think it's going to be a fun game for him running the ball a little bit. And then they'll top over 120. So that's my first bold prediction, man. What's your second?
Second one is we haven't seen it yet. Limited plays.
Okay.
But our boy Tyler Scott gets a touchdown.
Oh, man.
I think it's going to happen.
That.
Because I just feel
Friend
like
of the pod had him on early in the offseason.
And I say that because I feel like now that
cool.
ESB's out, right? So I think there might be more snaps for Tyler. Yeah. And I just feel like we haven't seen him used. I'm not going to say efficiently. I'm not saying that, right? Because I'm not a coach, first off. But I feel like we haven't seen him.
Still getting
right. Got to learn. We're starting to get to the point where I think they're adding more plays, trust in these different areas for certain players. So I think that this might be a game where we see a little bit more of Tyler Scott, and I'm just going to predict that he gets a touchdown. Doesn't mean it's a big play, right? It could be like you're in the red zone, he gets a 5-yard out, something like that. But I just expect that he's going to get on the board.
How much fun would that be? A deep ball to Tyler Scott, connected on that for a touchdown.
Oh,
I need that
first
in my
play,
veins, man.
Play action, first play, just go deep like we did last game.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, which I loved how the Bears against the Commanders, where they just almost typically they would run the ball and they would just they would throw the ball on first down. It's play action, first down. They did it continuously. I'm like, what the hell is this offense?
Well, there's a stat of I think we're now play actions. And I think it was it deep passes or something, but it showed someone I think on True Sports or whatever, someone shared it, but it was basically showing week by week the increase of the play action from week to week, how much percentage of it is play action. And I think last week we're up to 40%, and that's great because we're doing so much play action because the run game's working. And we already know Fields does amazing off the play action, rolling out things like that. So
you're nailing that. You're absolute. That's nails right there. So it was from Adam Johns, I believe, True Media Sports, play action percentage on early downs. So week 1 was at 19.4%. That's the lowest it's been in the season. Week 2 was 20.8%. Week 3 went up a little bit, 23.5%. But now week 4 and 5, where you see that jump where the production's finally there. You talked about Fields and how effective he is on play action. It went up from 23.5 in week 3 to 46.4 in week 4. And in week 5 against the Commanders, it was at 40.9%. So as far as play action percentage on early downs. So it's just going up more and more,
that's great. And then the other stat that was shared on there was 12 personnel. And I think this is great too, because Robert Tonyan got more targets. That helps with Cole as well, getting more targets. Mm-hmm. Both of them on the field is great. If we look at the percentage on that, week 1, or it was snaps. Week 1, we were in 12 personnel. And for people that don't know what 12 personnel is, that means you have 2 tight ends instead of just 1 on the field. So that'd be Robert Tonyan, Bobby Tonyan, and Cole Kmet. So week 1, 3 snaps. Week 2, 8 snaps. Week 3, 6 snaps. Week 4, 14, right? Starting to see a lot more. Week 5, 27 snaps. So obviously it's not going to just keep going up and up and up, right? You're not going to have 80 snaps of 12 personnel, but it's good to see that, I think they're really starting to find what works with this team. And that gets me excited because I think they're now starting to play, they're starting to scheme the offense to the strengths of this team, right? And I think that's beautiful.
And this quarterback, man. Absolutely. And with Claypool kind of going, you kind of obviously you want to see, maybe Velus and of course Tyler Scott get some more.
Wait, you said Claypool?
Claypool. Yeah, with him being gone.
Oh,
yeah, with him gone. Yeah, with him out of here, you kind of see they're almost bringing in Robert Tonyan, bringing that second tight end more just because Claypool's gone to get those reps, to get those snaps. Just because you probably don't trust, a rookie and Tyler Scott quite yet on a lot of these things. And then obviously Fields, like we just touched on, that's his strength, man. You're playing to your quarterback's strength, and he's rewarding that. So I love it, man. My second bold prediction, I don't think I even got to it, right?
I was talking too much.
No, I love it, man. So I'll make it quick here. I'm going to go they're going to get 3+ sacks again. They're going to go. They're going to continue this streak. Well, they got 5.5.
5.5.
5.5. I'm going to go. I'm going to go 3+. I'm not even going to say 3+. I'm going to go 3. I don't think they're going to get 5 again. I'm going to go 3. They're going to get home. It's going to be exotic blitzes. They're going to send pressure, and that's going to. I think it's going to be evident again, which is awesome. I mean, you go from they were last in the league, and I think they're still probably bottom tier. Bottom
yeah, they're definitely bottom tier, but
you can get me 3 more.
We're on pace. Yeah. After seeing, we had 5 last week, I can't say 3 is not possible. I guess I'm just, and I could be completely wrong. Let me start there. I'm not too sure that what we saw last week was more of what this is to come. And
is it sustainable?
More of I think it's less sustainable. Well, so obviously 5.5 is sustainable, but I just don't know if it's a fluke or not. That's
I think Yannick Ngakoue is going to get 1 in the first half. However, I think those other two are going to come on either just blitzes, and then maybe when, maybe the Bears are up 10, thank God, or 14, and it's throwing downs and it's like a coverage sack, and you get then you get one more crazy blitz from, maybe Kyler Gordon is back, and
that's good though.
He's so fast, and that's 3. So
yeah,
I think it's possible.
That's what last game really was. Like, it was like we had maybe 1 sack in the first half, 2 sacks maybe, and then really a lot of them were like them trying to catch up, right? You're passing every down, so you're going to get more opportunities. So if that happens that way, that's also good because that means we're up most of the game, right? So I'm not mad about that either. So I am not mad about that.
Final bold prediction, Ficky. Let's have some fun on this one.
Final bold prediction. And this is timed up perfectly. Because October 20th, the new Spider-Man comes out, right? Which is going to be fire, Spider-Man 2. And you know who comes out to play this week is our Spider-Man. And I'm saying Kyler Gordon gets an interception this week. That's my final bold prediction. Probably my biggest one. But that's if he plays. Sorry, I don't know if he plays, but if he plays, I'm calling a Kyler Gordon interception.
Okay. I think he plays too. I really do. I'm gonna stick on the defensive side of the ball. I'm not going to pick a player, but I'm going to say that Bears defense gets 2 interceptions. 2 interceptions. Just because I think Kirk Cousins, he might be forcing it a little bit. He's not going to trust some of these guys that he might be throwing to because he's so accustomed to a guy like Justin Jefferson, where it's like he's at 80, a 50-50 ball is more of 80-20 for him. And he's not going to have anyone nearly as far as that caliber of a receiver to kind of replace that production. So maybe they don't even throw it as much as I'm maybe predicting, but it's also Kirk Cousins. He loves to throw the ball. So
easily 40 passes a game. Easy. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So I think there's going to be maybe a couple tips. I'd love to see Tremaine Edmonds get involved here. Some of our top paid linebackers make an interception, make a play. Edwards almost had one last week.
They almost had one last game. That was tipped from Tremaine. And then Edwards almost got it. So close. So close, man. Anyways, I think they're going to come away with 2 interceptions, and I think that's why we'll get to our, final game predictions here. So do you want to start, man? I'll let you go first this time. Yeah, you go first this time.
Awesome. So I said that I took the over and under for points was at 44.
Yeah.
I am taking the under. Let me see here. Had it down here. 24. All right. So I'm going with 41 points total scored in this one. I think it's going to be a little bit slow scoring game. I'm going 24-17 Bears. So
that's,
however, that seems,
right?
41 points. Yeah. Going under, I'm going with 41 points total. I believe that it's going to be kind of like a weird game. Like I'm not saying turnovers or anything like that. I just think the Bears are going to come down a little bit,
clean,
still be able to move the ball, but maybe not put up as many touchdowns because they are converting.
Maybe not as efficient
drives with touchdowns. Yeah.
Well, they're converting not only touchdowns. They are the past 2 games. They are one of the most efficient 3rd down teams as well. So. That obviously third downs extend drives, right? Obviously, so you're just giving yourself more opportunities to score. So obviously that's going to come down a little bit. So I can see that happening. But I think we're like number 1.
And I could totally be wrong here because I was looking at this is from Brad Spielberger, PFF. Justin Fields, he's 10th in red zone dropbacks, but he's 3rd in red zone touchdown passes. So when they get to the red zone, man,
most efficient.
They are lethal.
Good luck.
He also has the most big-time throws in the NFL, according to PFF. So it's like this offense. I was looking at some of the stats that he was in, or where he was at after week 5, and so he was tied for 2nd in passing touchdowns with 11. He was 12.5. He has 12.2 yards per completion. That's 4th in the NFL. 95.4 rating, 12th in the NFL, and then 228.6 passing yards per game, which is 15th in the NFL. I know it's a little muggy with those 2 games, but it's like he's producing and he's ranked pretty high, even starting slow this season. So for me, I just think they come down to earth a little bit. I think 24-17 is probably going to be a little bit closer than what it says. I think they're going to be up maybe 24-10, and then the Vikings get a late score. It's 24-17. So I think that'll be fun. Especially if it's a little bit closer, you still learn how to win here. And you close it out.
It's a win. It's a win. I don't care. Like
and I know you're leaning towards the Bears a little bit, right? So what's your prediction?
No, definitely. I'm going 34-28. So I think what's going to happen is we're going to score 4 touchdowns. 4 touchdowns. Fields goes for 4 again, or it may not be. Fields goes for probably 3 touchdowns, or maybe 2 passing, and then there's 2 rushing, something like that. Maybe Fields scores 1, but I'm going to go 34, and then really the game is going to be like 34-21, really most of the game, right? And then I think there's going to be a late score that makes it 34-28, makes it a little bit closer, but because the Bears still like to make it like somewhat close, like we haven't stomped a team. Even last week, there was a point where I'm like, oh my gosh, my anxiety, even though we won by 20 there at the end because that big play by DJ, but like it was a missed field goal, and then it was a play by DJ that really put it out of range. But it was looking like, oh man, is this team going to come back? So I predict a win. I could see us losing, but I am confident that we can also win due to some of these injuries and then the lack of injuries on our end, or at least the people coming back. So, and I'm hoping to see, this offense still kind of ball the fuck out. If I could be wrong, but that's what I'm expecting. So,
hey, I love it, man. I think it's going to be a fun game. I'm hoping the Bears continue just this onslaught offensively. But again, we have to see it. So, I mean, at this point, I have a lot of optimism, way more than it's kind of been up and down.
For a one-win team, we do have a lot of.
Yep. So let's end the show like we always do here. How are we feeling? I know it's been a couple of days since the Washington game. How many wins are we feeling this team's going to end up? What's your record prediction here now?
Because I think I was at 3 last time. I think 3 was my ceiling, 1 was my floor. And so I think +1, that game made me feel a little bit more confident. So I'm going to go +1 on both sides. And I see us winning. We can win. Actually, no, let me take it back. I'm going to say +2. I can see us winning 5 games now. And I think our floor will be 3 games. So, because there's Panthers, I think we can still beat. Raiders look beatable, right? But it doesn't mean we're going to beat them, right? So that puts us at 3 wins. That's the floor, right? And then it's the NFL. So there might be 2 other games somewhere in the season that we just get a win when we shouldn't. Kind of like how we did with the Commanders, right? And then let me say this. It's the 5 wins is not because of Fields. I think the 5 wins is because the defense doesn't show up again. So very reminiscent of last year. You know what I mean? Like same shit, different season. So that's where I'm at. But if we see more consistency, right? And last week wasn't a fluke, that number is just going to keep going. But from one game, I can't jump too high. So
yeah, no, I'm with you. I think 3. I want to go. I'll go 4 wins as well as like the floor. I think they can't be a 3-win team, not with this talent around them and the fact they're kind of getting their heads out of their ass and kind of throwing DJ more the ball. Get him more targets, man.
Who would have thought?
I would say 4 wins is the floor, but I could really see this team going. I'm getting closer to how I felt pre, as far as the offseason preseason before we played week 1 against the Packers. Like I was feeling 8 wins could be attainable. We just have to continue to see these guys, first of all, learn how to win, which they're starting. But it's like that Denver game. That sucks. That's a tough loss. So for me, it's like, can this 5-game stretch where it's like not the best defenses still, winnable games. Can you go 4-1 through this 5-game stretch? I mean, that would be crazy. Bro. That would be growth. But maybe 3-2 or something along those lines. But I'm feeling 4 wins, and I'm going to go with 7 as the ceiling right now. I really hope that changes, but they're going to have to show us, man. And so far they've been doing it. So anyways, Ficky, man, I think we'll kind of close it out here. We're going almost, hour and a half, having some fun.
Every time, bro, we say, oh yeah, we'll knock it out under 60. That's never.
We don't put a time on it either. And but I want to say, first of all, again, we said it earlier, but thank you for Kyle Long hopping on the pod. We'll have to have him on again. He's just a great mind. Check him out on Twitter. Check out his podcast with his brother, the Greenlight Pod, and of course on CBS Sports NFL coverage. He's one of the best. Yeah. We appreciate it. If you enjoyed this show, hit the like button, hit the sub, help support the pod. If you're on Apple, Spotify, we appreciate you. Rate the pod over there. And we'll be back. I think we'll probably be back to recap the Bears versus Viking games a little bit after. Ficky's going to come back from the game. He'll have some live video from there and his post game. Hopefully it's good, a lot better than the week 1 showdown and post game.
Yes, bro. Yeah.
So hopefully that will come to, probably about an hour or so after the game. We got to get Ficky. It's going to be crazy traffic. He'll get back to his hotel.
Well, it takes an hour to get out of that shitty stadium. So it might take a minute. But yes, we're going to try to do a show.
We'll be there. And of course, if you want to be notified for that, hit the notification bell on YouTube. But again, everyone that's been supporting the pod, we appreciate it. Hopefully things are starting to pick up here. It's been fun. Ficky, anything else before we go, man?
Bear down. Let's get a dub. I'm ready to. I haven't seen a dub live since Alshon Jeffrey days. So let's get a dub. I'm excited.
Hey, absolutely. I think that about wraps it up here. We will again see you Sunday. Hopefully, we're recapping another win. But we'll see you then.
Peace.